We are on the line 157-337. We will repeat this message. We are running north and south. Those were the final words received from a Lockheed Electra over the Pacific Ocean on July 2, 1937. Then, the signal cut out. No oil slick was ever spotted. No wreckage was recovered. Despite weeks of searching, investigators found no physical trace of the aircraft or its crew. Amelia Earhart was the most famous pilot in the world, a seasoned navigator with a dozen major aviation records to her name. She disappeared just 39 days before she would have completed a flight around the globe. Born in Atchison, Kansas, Earhart grew up in a traditional household where her mother encouraged a degree of independence rare for the early 1900s. She spent her childhood hunting rats with a rifle and collecting newspaper clippings about women in engineering and law. Her interest in aviation began at a 1920 air show in Long Beach. After a 10-minute flight that reached just a few hundred feet, she began saving for her own pilot's license. By 1921, she had purchased her first plane, a second-hand Kenner Airster biplane she painted bright yellow and nicknamed the Canary. In 1932, she used a single-engine monoplane like this one to fly solo across the Atlantic. For 15 hours, she flew through storms that coated her wings in ice and dealt with a manifold leak that shot flames from the exhaust. That flight made her the first woman to cross the Atlantic alone. Over the next 5 years, she set records for the first solo flight from Hawaii to California and the first nonstop flight from Mexico City to Newark. In 1937, she began her most ambitious project, a 29,000-mile flight following the equator. It was a distance longer than any route previously attempted. She chose a twin-engine Lockheed Model 10E Electra for the journey and recruited Fred Noonan, a former Pan Am chief navigator, to handle the complex flight path. The plane was stripped of passenger seats and all non-essential equipment to make room for massive internal fuel tanks, increasing its range for the long over-water legs. They traveled east from Florida, crossing South America, Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. By the time they reached Lae, Papua New Guinea, they had successfully completed 35,000 kilometers of the journey. Noonan relied on 1930s analog tools like this brass sextant. Navigation required calculating the plane's position based on the stars, the horizon, and precise timekeeping. Without radar or satellite tracking, a calculation error of just 1 minute could result in the plane drifting miles off its intended course over the open ocean. Their next target was Howland Island, a strip of land only 2 miles long. Finding it required hitting a tiny point of land in a territory covering millions of square miles of water. Earhart and Noonan left this remote airstrip in Lae on July 2nd. They faced a 2,500-mile flight, the longest and most dangerous leg of the entire trip. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca was stationed at Howland Island to provide a radio beacon and visual smoke signals to guide the Electra to the runway. The plan failed due to a breakdown in radio communication. Records suggest the Itasca could hear Earhart's transmissions, but she was unable to hear their replies, possibly due to mismatched frequencies or a shortened antenna. At 8:43 a.m., Earhart reported flying a sumline of 157 and 337 degrees, a bearing Noonan calculated to intersect the island. This line provided direction, not location. Without a signal to confirm distance, crews searched a 300-mile path. Taking their fuel load and speed into account, experts estimate the Electra's engines ran dry roughly 20 hours after takeoff. Based on radio logs, Noonan and Earhart believed they were right on top of their target. But without a two-way signal to lock their position, the communication failure left them flying blind over the world's deepest water. The U.S. Navy immediately launched a massive recovery effort involving the battleship Colorado and the aircraft carrier USS Lexington, searching over 250,000 square miles of the Pacific. The search cost $4 million and lasted over 2 weeks, but yielded no evidence. In 1939, Amelia Earhart was officially declared dead. The most widely accepted theory is that the plane crashed into the ocean and sank. The seafloor in that region is roughly 16,000 feet deep, making it nearly impossible to locate wreckage without advanced sonar. A second theory suggests they landed on Nikumaroro, a coral atoll 350 miles away. Researchers have found artifacts there, including aircraft aluminum and 1930s glass, though none have been scientifically linked to the Electra. A more speculative theory claims they were captured by Japanese forces. However, historians have found no documentation in Japanese or American archives to support this claim. Modern deep-sea expeditions continue to scan the area near Howland Island. While sonar sometimes identifies promising shapes, they consistently prove to be natural rock formations. The Pacific is deeper than Mount Everest is tall, and its sheer scale has kept the physical evidence of the flight hidden for nearly 90 years. Despite the mystery of her disappearance, Earhart's impact on aviation is documented in the organizations she built, like the 99s, which continues to support female pilots today. She spent 2 decades proving that women could excel in the most dangerous technical fields of the early 20th century. Amelia Earhart is defined by the technical barriers she broke while she was in the air. She remains a primary example of a pilot who pushed the limits of 1930s technology until the map ran out.